On December 29, 2019, one of the most powerful executives in automotive history folded himself into a box built for audio equipment and was carried onto a private jet out of Japan. Carlos Ghosn had run the largest car group on Earth, Renault, Nissan, and Mitsubishi, 10.6 million vehicles a year, 1 in every 9 cars sold worldwide. 13 months earlier, he had been arrested at a Tokyo airport, accused by prosecutors of hiding tens of millions of dollars in pay. He faced a justice system that convicts roughly 99% of the people it charges, so he did not wait for the verdict. This is how the turnaround king became a fugitive. For 2 decades, Ghosn was the man the industry called when a company was dying. He did not just rescue Nissan, he became living proof that a single executive could bend the entire global auto industry to his will. So, here is the question. This whole story turns on. When one man is allowed to become that powerful, untouchable, unquestioned, the human symbol of a company's survival, what is left to stop him? Japanese prosecutors would give one answer. Ghosn would give another. Years later, they are still fighting over which one is true. Carlos Ghosn was born in Brazil in 1954, educated in France, and forged inside the ranks of the tire giant Michelin. By the 1990s, he had earned a single, valuable reputation: the man you call when a company is dying. In 1999, Nissan was exactly that. It was buckling under roughly $20 billion in automotive debt, coming off years of losses and running out of time. Renault took a stake and sent Ghosn to Tokyo to fix it. His solution was brutal. The Nissan revival plan called for cutting 21,000 jobs, about 14% of the workforce, and shutting 5 plants in Japan. In a country where lifetime employment was almost sacred, it was heresy, but it worked. Within 2 years, Nissan was profitable again. Within a few more, the debt that had nearly buried it was gone. The Japanese press gave him a nickname usually reserved for fictional heroes. He had become untouchable, and that was the problem no one saw yet. By 2005, Ghosn was running 2 automakers at once, chief executive of both Renault and Nissan simultaneously. It had never been done in the history of the industry. He commuted between continents, sat atop 2 boards, and answered to almost no one who could truly challenge him. In 2016, he pulled Mitsubishi Motors into the fold. The 3-company alliance he now controlled sold 10.6 million vehicles in 2017, making it, that year, the single largest carmaker on the planet. 1 in every 9 cars sold anywhere in the world came from his group. Ghosn was no longer just a CEO. He was a symbol of globalization, of shareholder value, of the idea that the right executive was worth almost any price, and he was paid accordingly. That pay, prosecutors would later argue, is where the story turns. Behind the empire, Japanese prosecutors alleged something else had been running for years. They accused Ghosn of failing to disclose roughly $80 million in compensation across multiple years, pay they said he had arranged to receive later, quietly, without reporting it to regulators or shareholders. Investigators also examined luxury properties allegedly funded through company-linked structures, personal use of corporate assets, and payments to entities tied to people close to him. Ghosn denied all of it. He called the case a boardroom coup, an inside job by Nissan executives who, he claimed, wanted to block a deeper merger with Renault and used the prosecutors to remove him. To this day, he has never been convicted of any of these charges. One thing, though, is not in dispute. Nissan, the company itself, was later fined 2.4 billion yen, about $24 million, by Japan's financial services agency for underreporting his compensation. The corporation admitted the filings were wrong. Whether one man engineered it or an entire boardroom looked away remains the fight at the center of the case. On November 19, 2018, Ghosn's jet touched down in Tokyo. Prosecutors were waiting. He was arrested on the tarmac. The collapse was immediate. Within weeks, he was stripped of his chairmanship at Nissan, then removed at Mitsubishi, then pushed out at Renault. The man who had run 3 automakers now controlled none of them. Then he entered a system he was not prepared for. In Japan, suspects can be held for weeks, questioned for hours a day, often without a lawyer present. and roughly 99% of criminal cases that go to trial end in conviction. Ghosn was released on bail, rearrested, released again. He described the experience as being presumed guilty and stripped of any real chance to defend himself. He called the justice system rigged. And somewhere in those months of detention, he stopped believing he would ever get a fair trial. So, he ran. On December 29, 2019, while out on bail and under surveillance, Ghosn slipped away from his Tokyo residence. Accomplices moved him to Osaka, where he climbed into a large black case, the kind built to carry concert audio. Equipment. Holes had been drilled in the bottom so he could breathe. The box was loaded as freight onto a private jet. Airport security did not scan it. The plane flew to Istanbul, then on to Beirut. Ghosn stepped out in Lebanon, his childhood home, and a country with no extradition treaty with Japan. One of the most recognizable executives on Earth had vanished from custody and reappeared, free, on another continent. Two American men, a former Green Beret and his son, were later arrested for allegedly orchestrating the escape and extradited to Japan to face charges. Ghosn himself has never returned. The escape made Ghosn a free man and a permanent fugitive at the same time. He lives in Lebanon under an Interpol Red Notice, unable to travel without risking arrest. The trial that would have tested the allegations against him has never happened, which means, for the public, the central question was never actually answered in a courtroom. The damage did not stop with one man. The alliance he built began to fracture. Nissan's own governance was exposed as a structure that had let a single executive operate for years with almost no independent check. The company spent the following years rebuilding trust it had assumed it would never lose. The turnaround king had, in the end, delivered one final restructuring of his own reputation and of the company he once saved. So, return to the question. When one man is allowed to become that powerful, what is left to stop him? The answer is supposed to be oversight, a board, an auditor, a regulator willing to say no. And the real scandal of Carlos Ghosn is not whether he hid $80 million. It is that for 2 decades, an entire company built itself around a single person so completely that by the time anyone looked closely, no one could tell where the executive ended and the corporation began. Prosecutors say he abused that power. Ghosn says he was its victim. Both cannot be true, but both point to the same failure, a system that let one man become too important to question until the only way it could remove him was an airport arrest, and the only way he could answer it was a box on a private jet. He built the largest car alliance in the world. Then he used it, or was used by it, in ways no one outside the boardroom was ever supposed to see. And the verdict that would settle it may never come. The next investigation is already in production. If you want the scandals the auto industry tried to bury, subscribe to Auto Underworld and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the next one.